All right, and welcome back to the shop. Today, we're going to be doing something with some hardware. We're going to be digging through these nuts and bolts and try to find some things that represent fingers and hands, because that's what we're making today. We're going to sculpt a hand with MIG welding and scrap hardware. I wouldn't say scrap, but random bits of hardware. Here I'm trying to select the different pieces. And now I think I found the washer is going to be perfect for making the base of the hand, but I kind of wanted to take that seam and make it flush so it was flat. It turns out later that it was good that I left the seam open and put it at the base of the hand. I will explain why later. It has to do with the form of the natural form of the hand. And here you can see with just a little bit of heat, you can just bend that right back into place. Nice and straight now. Yep, there's another shot of it. Now I'm just cutting down the heads of these so they kind of match the angle of the washer. And using the grinder, trying to match it up there. Mainly want the fingers to come off straight, and then I'll bend them with heat later. That looks pretty good. So let's do the other one. So the index finger and the pinky finger are the two that I'm working on here. And there they are. You can see I just kind of took the angle down. And then the two middle ones are probably going to be pretty close to as is. I think I ended up grinding a little bit out. And the thumb, let's see. How's that going to go? Yeah, it looks good. Let's start welding. Heck with it.
Right, that's kind of in place.
All right, so I kind of missed this shot with the GoPro. I had her on my chest, so bear with me for these first couple. Just tacking on the first two fingers, basically. There it is.
Close enough.
And the other camera. Now we're getting that third finger on there, just giving it a little bit of a tack weld. Additive welding. Just keep adding to it. Grind it, add it, grind it, add it. And now the thumb. Get that sort of in place.
Cool it down a little bit.
And now I'm realizing I need a bigger water container to cool things off so I can go back to grinding.
Round it down.
So there it is. The initial 5 fingers are on. Now I'm just building up some of the material, smoothing it out before I add the next pieces. It truly is like just sculpting with hot glue, and I'm no welder, but if, you keep doing it, you'll eventually get something that'll hold together. And especially for something like this, it's not structural, so it doesn't matter. My goal is to make a creepy looking hand, and I think this actually works out pretty good.
Shape of this bolt out of here.
And again, just building up the welds, building up the material, adding some more funk all over everything. And now we're going to go ahead and clean up the shape of that bolt. Get some of the squareness out of that underside there. Just fill it with welds so you can grind it down and make it look a little more organic. Just a little bit, rotate it. Now we're going to do the side underneath there. Fill in any holes. Adding that little bit of meat that goes around the thumb, the padding. That's kind of what's going on here. pinky, just to kind of bridge that gap between the fingers and the hand. Smooth it all out. We grind that down in a little while. And there you go. It's a start. Now we're just going to grind and clean up some of those bits so we have some fresh working material to go on top of. And now we're selecting the those other pieces, and I missed a piece of footage there, so there's 3 of them tack welded sort of in place, and now I'm just making enough room for the 4th one. It's the middle finger I'm adding now. It looks off because of the camera angle here, but I'm moving that one, as you can see, heating it. So we get some space. And then I started moving that, and I realized the other one's probably needed a little bit of a bend as well. Get that one out of the way a little more. There we go. Now we're getting those out of the way. The last one going in. Quick tack. Perfect. It ain't pretty, but it holds. Kind of adding in some knuckles now. Again, this is the first time I've ever done something like this, so I'm not really saying how it should be done. I'm just showing you what I did. And since I have the footage, I figured why not share it with the world? Let them see how terrible of a welder I am.
Alright, I should probably look up online what actually the hand looks like, but I just need to have that right there. Cool, man. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with it there now, but it's there, so that's cool.
This is actually quite fun work. It's almost like meditation. You can just do it and focus on little bits and build something greater. Forces you to get out of the headspace. You're overthinking everything else. This way, you're being creative and not wasting your time watching Netflix or something.
Alright, let's heat that.
There you go. Now that's just that little piece for the thumb. And then just tap it down. That's what I'm talking about. Get all those things in line.
There it is. I think I want to give those fingers some character and take some of those lines out now.
I intentionally left all the fingers longer so I had some kind of a room for error later if I didn't like the proportions of things, but you'll see pretty soon. I start trimming those down and making them to scale with each other, I guess you could say. I'm just going to bend the fingers upwards a little bit, because if you look at the thing is very straight and hands aren't exactly straight like that. So I'm giving it a little bit of an upward. I want this to kind of look like it's reaching up, like if it were on the ground, just the hand, and it kind of had a couple fingers up. That's what I'm going for. So I'm not going to have it clutching anything or pointing or anything like that. It's just going to be an open hand, kind of reaching. So I'm just sort of eyeballing the general shape of the fingers. I will come in again later and adjust this. But this was me trying to end for the night and try to go upstairs and have some dinner and whatever, but I get compulsive and can't really stop. So I thought, oh, I'll just add a little bit of shape to these fingers, and you know how that goes. It just keeps going. So I figured I'd get it close enough. And then even after I did quit and went back downstairs later to adjust the thumb, because I couldn't go to sleep until I fixed the thumb. It was really bugging me. It was too fat and it looked out of place. And I ended up using the oxyacetylene torch to heat up the washer area, the component of the hand, and bending that whole side down because it does look more natural now. And I'll show you at the end of this where we ended up with that. I can show you what it looks like now. Because after I cut the video thinking, oh, I'll just pick up tomorrow, I went and did more work without filming, probably about a half an hour's worth of work of adding some weld, grinding down, cleaning, adding more weld, and then repeat. So here I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get the pad of the thumb down. I know I'm going to need to use the oxyacetylene torch, but I think I'm going to have a go right now and see if I can do it with the MAPP gas, at least get some more form in this thumb. So I'm going to try to get it right at the base. Right now the anvil is, or the vise is acting like a huge heat sink, so it's not really doing what I want. I realized this later, but when you're doing it, you're just doing it. So you go for it. See what the heck can we do? Can we do it? So I'm just heating it until it starts to give. Once it's hot enough, you can just freely bend it. I'm just giving it some more shape here, trying to get the indication of a joint in the thumb. Ultimately, I'm just trying to get a natural resting position for this thumb. It's still way too long, it's still way too fat, and the pad isn't bent, you know, the washer area isn't bent down to be looking natural yet, so that all needs to be worked out. But while I'm having a look at it here, I'm thinking, all right, maybe now is the time to trim down the fingers, at least get them closer to the naturals, to the length that they're going to be. And I'm basing the lengths of the fingers on my own hand, so I guess you could say this is kind of like a hand portrait or something. It's a left hand, so that's also weird because I'm right-handed. So maybe I am going to have to make another one and see how similar I can make two hands, and then maybe down the road I make the rest of the person. That's an idea. Start with the hands and make the rest of the body piece by piece. That thumb is way too long. Let's cut down that thumb. That's fantastic. Much better. Still weird as hell, but it's better than it was. So anyways, I'm pretty much having a thought now that it's probably a good stopping point. I always tell myself, yeah, it's a good stopping point, and I just keep going. But see, oh no, let's just touch up the fingers real quick before we stop for tonight. Go have some dinner. Remove some more of the threads in the screws, the visible threads that are left over, and any high spots, so you have a nice place to put a weld when you come back, and add more texture to the hand so it looks more like flesh that's been burned off or something. You'll see. There's a first time for everything, so the next one will definitely be easier. And I think I might want to get one of those third hands like they use for soldering and stuff if they make them larger. That would be awesome to be able to hold two pieces right next to each other without having to finagle clamps and stuff. Just put some clips on them and swing the arms, you know, the third hand. But yeah, here we are just building up the finger, that space between the finger and the thumb, because it's a little bit more meaty in there, and I want to have some material to work with, so some of that will grind down. Tiny little spot welds, tack welds, whatever you want to call them. And there you have it. So I'm just going to have a look at it. I was going to be showing it to the other camera, but I lost the footage of that. So unfortunately, I don't have all of the rest of this filmed, so I'm going to have to cut and show you where I ended up after spending about another 40 minutes on it. After the point you see it here. Here it is. I'm showing the camera, and that camera had a dead battery. So once I realized that, I said, now it's time to stop. And then I went upstairs and I ate something and then came back down and fixed the thumb. And that's where we're at. So I'm going to stop now, and we're going to go cut to that. And I'm going to show you what the hand looks like now. All right, and here we are to wrap it up with the final, not the final, but with where it stands as of right now. I want to add some more to this, but I think the plan is going to be to make another one before I add too much character to this one and get it sort of close to this point. I'll build the right hand next, get the two very similar to each other, and then work on them at the same time, so at least they're consistent. But I just wanted to film this in 4K to give you the idea of the detail, give you a little close-up shot, nice slow move around just to give you all the little nooks and crannies and stuff. I tried to kind of imply fingernails with just the grinder, just sort of touch on them to sort of look like there's an illusion as if it was coming at you. So if you can get that, try to get it from all the angles so you can see how either good or bad I did with the actual natural hand look. But there it is. The point I was making earlier in the video about the pad and the washer and all that bit, the break in the washer, it actually worked out great to have it in the wrist side, because I ended up heating this piece with the oxyacetylene torch. This was a lot of weld material in here and very hard to just bend. Otherwise you could do this whole thing with the MAPP gas torch and a MIG welder, but I used the oxyacetylene just at the end to do that. If you had bent this ahead of time, that wouldn't have been a problem. So the next one I probably will do that. But yeah, there you have it. It's basically 9 bolts and a washer. 9 screws, whatever you want to call them. And there you have it. The bottom I didn't really touch up yet. I could probably get in there with a grinder or something. But yeah, there it is. I just wanted to get some nice beauty shots, some glamour shots of it, since I fixed the fingers, the thumb rather. You can see the proportions. I think it all kind of worked out. You know, again, this isn't complete. There's going to be another one. I'm going to fatten up the finger a little bit, probably add a little more character to the fingers, but this is just where it stands now. I think maybe if I do another one and record it in 4K and get better footage, I'll put that video up. The thing maybe now is to do another hand, and then eventually maybe a whole being, a whole body, whole thing. Rah. But anyways, I just want to say thank you for watching if you made it this far. Thank you for subscribing. I've been seeing a lot more comments and subscribers, which is fantastic. I really appreciate it. And if there's ever anything you want to see or hear more about, please send me a message or put it in the comments below. Check me out on Instagram at Fleanine, Fleanine, or on Facebook at Too Many Morons.